Shalom, brothers and sisters in Yahweh, and welcome to our Monday study. Tonight we'll be studying the Book of Jasher, and we'll be doing chapters 10, 11, and 12. So if you got a Dead Sea Scrolls book, go ahead and grab it. And Jasher, 10, 11, and 12, okay? All right. Hope everybody had a good Shabbat and a good weekend, and now we're ready to start our week, huh? And get a little drink of water, and we'll get going tonight. All right. Everybody comfortable? Got your cushy pillow and your blankie because it's getting cold out, and yeah, all the things. Okay, let's get started here tonight then. The Book of Jasher, chapter 10. Peleg, the son of Eber, died in those days, in the 48th year of the life of Abram, son of Terah, and all the days of Peleg were 239 years. When the Elohim had scattered the sons of men on account of their sins at the tower, behold, they spread forth into many divisions, and all the sons of men were dispersed into the four corners of the earth. And all the families became each according to its language, its land, or its city. And the sons of men built many cities according to their families, in all the places where they went, and throughout the earth where the Elohim had scattered them. Some of them built cities in places from which they later abandoned, and they called these cities after their own names, or the names of their children, or after their particular occurrences. The sons of Japheth, that's all of us, the Gentiles, the son of Noah, went and built themselves cities in the places where they were scattered. They called all their cities after their names, and the sons of Japheth were divided on the face of the earth into many nations and languages. And these are the sons of Japheth, according to their families: Gomer, Magog, Madai, Yavon, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras. These are the children of Japheth, according to their generations. The children of Gomer, according to their cities, were the Frankim, who dwelt in the land of Franza, by the river Franza, by the river Sanah. And the children of Rephath are the Bartanim, who dwell in the land of Bartonia, by the river Ladah, which empties its waters into the great sea of Gihon, that is, Oceanus. The children of Togarmah are 10 families, and these are their names: Buzar, Perzunik, Balgar, Elikanum, Ragbib, Tarkai, Bid, Zabuk, Angal, Tilmaz. All these spread and rested in the north, and built themselves cities. And they called their cities after their own names. Those are they who abide by the river Hythlah and Ithlak to this day. But the families of Angali, Balgar, and Parzunak, they dwell by the great river Dani, and the names of their cities are also according to their own names. The children of Yavon are the Yavonim, who dwell in the land of Macedonia, and the children of Medekiar are the Orlam, that dwell in the land of Kherson, and the children of Tubal are those that dwell in the land of Tuscanah, by the river Pashaniah. The children of Meshech are the Shebashani, and the children of Tyrus are Rashash, Kushnai, and Angolas. All these went and built themselves cities. Those are the cities that are situated by the sea Yabas, by the river Kerah, which empties itself into the river Tragon. And the children of Elisha are the Alminan, and they also went and built themselves cities. Those are the cities situated between the mountains of Job and Shishbanbothmo. And of them were the people of Lombardi, who dwell opposite the mountains of Job and Shimbathmo. And they conquered the land of Italia, and remained there to this day. The children of Shittim are the Ramim, who dwell in the valley of Canopia, by the river Tibreu. The children of Dudanim are those who dwell in the cities of the sea Gihon, in the land of Bordna. These are the families of the children of Japheth, according to their cities and languages, when they were scattered after the tower. They called their cities after their names and occurrences. And these are the names of all their cities, according to their families, which they built in those days after the tower. So the children of Japheth are the Europeans and the Eastern Asians. Russia, all of Eastern Europe, all of Europe is Japheth. So if your descendants came from Europe, guess what? You are part of the children of Japheth. Got it? Verse 19. And the children of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Phut, and Canaan, according to their generations and cities. All these went and built themselves cities as they found fit places for them, and they called their cities after the names of their fathers, Cush, Mizraim, Phut, and Canaan. The children of Mizraim are the Ludim, Anamim, Lehabrim, Nanatuchaim, Pathrushim, Calischim, and Captorium, 7 families. All these dwell by the river Sihor, that is the brook of Egypt. And they built themselves cities and called them after their own names. Now you understand how Egypt is called Mizraim. See? 23. The children of Pathros and Cashlach intermarried together, and from them went forth the Pelishtim, the Azthim, and the Gerarim, the Githim, and the Ekrim, in all 5 families. These also built themselves cities, and they called their cities after the names of their fathers to this day. The children of Canaan also built themselves cities, and they called their cities after their names, 11 cities, and others without number. 4 men from the family of Ham went to the land of the plain. These are the names of the 4 men. You ready for these ones? Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim. All the places that Yahweh toasted when he toasted Sodom and Gomorrah. The cities of the plains. Okay? 26. And these men built themselves 4 cities in the land of the plain, and they called the names of their cities after their own names. They and their children, and all belonging to them, lived in those cities, and they were prolific, and multiplied greatly, and lived peaceably. Seir, the son of Hur, son of Havi, son of Canaan, went and found a valley opposite to Mount Paran, and he built a city there. He and his 7 sons, and his household lived there. And he called the city which he built Seir, according to the name that is, the land of Seir, to this day. These are the families of the children of Ham, according to their languages and cities, when they were scattered to their countries after the tower. Some of the children of Shem, son of Noah, father of all the children of Eber, also went and built themselves cities in the places wherein they were scattered, and they called their cities after their names. Okay, the children of Shem are the Hebrews. Okay. 31. The sons of Shem were Elam, Ashur, Arpachshad, Lud, Aram, and they built themselves cities and called the names of all their cities after their names. Ashur, son of Shem, and his children and household went forth at that time, a very large body of them, and they went to a distant land that they found. They met with a very extensive valley in the land that they went to, and they built themselves 4 cities, and they called them after their own names and occurrences. And these are the names of the cities which the children of Asher built: Nineveh, Rezin, Calach, and Rehoboth. The children of Ashur dwell there to this day. The children of Aram also went and built themselves a city, and they called the name of this city Uz, after their eldest brother. They dwelt therein, that is, the land of Uz to this day. And in the 2nd year after the tower, a man from the house of Ashur, whose name was Bela, went from the land of Nineveh to sojourn with his household wherever he could find a place. They came until opposite the cities of the plain against Sodom, and they lived there. And the man rose up and built there a small city, and called its name Bela, after his name, that is, the land of Zoar, to this day. These are the families of the children of Shem, according to their language and cities, after they were scattered on the earth after the tower. And every kingdom, city, and family of the families of the children of Noah built themselves many cities after this. And they established governments in all their cities in order to be regulated by their orders. So did all the families of the children of Noah forever. Chapter 11. Nimrod, son of Cush, was still in the land of Shinar, and he reigned over it, and lived there, and he built cities in the land of Shinar. These are the names of the 4 cities which he built, and he called their names after the occurrences that happened to them in the building of the tower. He called the first Babel, saying, because the Elohim there confounded the language of the whole earth. The name of the second he called Erech, because from there Elohim dispersed them. And the third he called Echt, saying, there was a great battle at that place. The fourth he called Calneh, because his princes and mighty men were consumed there, and they troubled the Elohim. They rebelled and went contrary to him. When Nimrod had built these cities in the land of Shinar, he placed in them the remainder of his people, his princes, and his mighty men that were left in his kingdom. Nimrod lived in Babel, and there he renewed his reign over the rest of his subjects, and he reigned securely. And the subjects and princes of Nimrod called his name Amraphel, saying that at the tower his princes and men fell through his means. Notwithstanding this, Nimrod did not return to the Elohim, and he continued in wickedness, and teaching wickedness to the sons of men. And Mardon his son was worse than his father, and continued to add to the abominations of his father. And he caused the sons of men to sin. Therefore it is said, from the wicked goes forth wickedness. At that time there was war between the families of the children of Ham, as they were dwelling in the cities which they had built. And Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, went away from the families of the children of Ham, and he fought with them, and he subdued them. And he went to the 5 cities of the plain. He fought against them, and he subdued them, and they were under his control. And they served him 12 years, and gave him a yearly tax. At that time Nahor, son of Sherug, died, in the 49th year of the life of Abram, son of Terah. In the 50th year of the life of Abram, son of Terah, Abram came forth from the house of Noah, and went to his father's house. And Abram knew the Elohim, and he followed in his ways and instructions, and the Elohim, Yahweh, was with him. Terah his father was in those days still captain of the host of King Nimrod, and he still followed strange small g gods. And Abram came to his father's house and saw 12 small g gods standing there in their temple. And the anger of Abram was set ablaze when he saw these images in his father's house. And Abram said, as the Elohim lives, these images shall not remain in my father's house. So shall the Elohim who created me do to me, if in 3 days' time I do not break them all. Abram went from them, and his anger burned within him. And Abram hurried, and went from the chamber to his father's outer court. And he found his father sitting in the court, and all his servants with him. And Abram came and sat before him. Abram asked his father, saying, Father, tell me, where is Elohim, who created heaven and earth, and all the sons of men on earth, and who created you and me? And Terah answered his son Abram and said, Behold, those who created us are all with us in the house. And Abram said to his father, My father, show them to me, I pray you. And Terah brought Abram into the chamber of the inner court, and Abram saw, and behold, the whole room was full of small g gods, of wood and stone, 12 great images, and others less than they, without number. And Terah said to his son, Behold, these are which made all you see on the earth, and which created me and you, and all mankind. Terah bowed down to his small g gods, and he then went away from them, and Abram his son went away with him. When Abram had gone from them, he went to his mother, and sat before her. And he said to his mother, Behold, my father has shown me those who made heaven and earth, and all the sons of men. Now, therefore, hurry and fetch me a kid from the flock, and make of it savory meat, that I may bring it to my father's small g gods, as an offering for them to eat. Perhaps I may thereby become acceptable to them. And his mother did so. She fetched a kid, and made savory meat thereof, and brought it to Abram. And Abram took the savory meat from his mother, and brought it before his father's small g gods. And he drew nigh to them, that they might eat. And Terah his father did not know of it. Abram saw on the day when he was sitting among them, that they had no voice, no hearing, no motion, and not one of them could stretch forth his hand to eat. And Abram mocked them, and said, Certainly the savory meat that I prepared has not pleased them, or perhaps it was too little for them, and for that reason they would not eat. Therefore, tomorrow I will prepare fresh savory meat, better and more plentiful than this, in order that I may see the result. It was on the next day that Abram directed his mother concerning the savory meat, and his mother rose and fetched 3 fine kids from the flock, and she made of them some excellent savory meat, such as her son was fond of, and she gave it to her son Abram, and Terah his father did not know it. Abram took the savory meat from his mother and brought it before his father's small g gods into the chamber. He came nigh to them, that they might eat, and he placed it before them. And Abram sat before them all day, thinking perhaps they might eat. Abram viewed them, and behold, they had neither voice nor hearing, nor did one of them stretch forth his hand to the meat to eat. And in the evening of that day in the house Abram was clothed with the Spirit of Elohim. He called out and said, Woe to my father and this wicked generation, whose hearts are all inclined to vanity, who serve these idols of wood and stone, which can neither eat, smell, hear, nor speak, who have mouths without speech, eyes without sight, ears without hearing, hands without feeling, and legs which cannot move. Like them are those that made them, and that trust in them. When Abram saw these things, his anger was set ablaze against his father, and he hurried, and took a hatchet in his hand, and he came to the chamber of the small g gods. He broke all his father's small g gods. And when he was done breaking the images, he placed the hatchet in the hand of the great small g god, which was there before them, and he went out. And Terah his father came home, for he had heard at the door the sound of striking of the hatchet. So Terah came into the house to know what this was about. Terah, having heard the noise of the hatchet in the room of images, ran to the room to the images, and he met Abram going out. And Terah entered the room and found all the idols fallen down and broken, and the hatchet in the hand of the largest, which was not broken. And the savory meat which Abram his son had made was still before them. When Terah saw this, his anger was greatly set ablaze, and he hurried and went from the room to Abram. And he found Abram his son was sitting in the house, and he said to him, What is this work you have done to my small g gods? Abram answered Terah his father, and he said, Not so, my father, for I brought savory meat before them, when I came near to them with the meat, that they might eat. They all at once stretched forth their hands to eat, before the great one had put forth his hand to eat. And the large one saw their works, that they did before him, and his anger was violently set ablaze against them. And he went, and took the hatchet within the house, and came to them, and broke them all. And behold, the hatchet is yet in his hand, as you see. And Terah's anger was set ablaze against his son Abram, when he spoke this. And Terah said to Abram his son in his anger, What is this tale that you have told? You speak lies to me. Is there in these small g gods spirit, soul, or power to do all that you have told me? Are they not wood and stone, and have I not myself made them? And can you speak such lies, saying that the large small g god that was with them struck them? It is you that did place the hatchet in his hands, and then said he struck them all. Abram answered his father and said to him, And how can you then serve these idols, in whom there is no power to do anything? Can those idols in which you trust deliver you? Can they hear your prayers when you call on them? Can they deliver you from the hands of your enemies? Or will they fight your battles for you against your enemies, that you should serve wood and stone, which can neither speak nor hear? And now certainly it is not good for you, nor for the sons of men that are connected with you, to do these things. Are you so silly, so foolish? or so short of understanding that you will serve wood and stone and do after this manner? And forget the Elohim, Yahweh, who made heaven and earth, and who created you in the earth, and thereby bring a great evil on your souls in this matter by serving stone and wood? Did not our fathers in days of old sin in this manner? And the Elohim, Yahweh of the universe, brought the waters of the flood on them and destroyed the whole earth? And how can you continue to do this and serve small g gods of wood and stone, who cannot hear or speak or deliver you from oppression, thereby bringing down the anger of the Elohim of the universe on you? Now therefore, my father, refrain from this, and bring not evil on your soul and the souls of your household. And Abram hurried and sprang from before his father, and took the hatchet from his father's largest idol, with which Abram broke it, and ran away. Terah, seeing all that Abram had done, hurried to go from his house. He went to the king, and he came before Nimrod and stood before him, and he bowed down to the king. And the king said, What do you want? And he said, I beseech you, O my lord, to hear me. Now 50 years back a child was born to me, and thus he has done to my small g gods, and thus he has spoken. And now therefore, my lord and king, send for him, that he may come before you, and judge him according to the law, that we may be delivered from this evil. The king sent 3 men of his servants, and they went and brought Abram before the king. And Nimrod and all his princes and servants were that day sitting before him, and Terah also sat before them. And the king said to Abram, What is this that you have done to your father and to his small g gods? And Abram answered the king in the words that he spoke to his father, and he said, The large God that was with them in the house did to them what you have heard. And the king said to Abram, Had they power to speak and eat and do as you have said? And Abram answered the king, saying, And if there be no power in them, why do you serve them and cause the sons of men to err through your follies? He's questioning Nimrod. Verse 55, Do you imagine that they can deliver you, or do anything small or great, that you should serve them? And why will you not sense the Elohim of the whole universe, who created you, and in whose power it is to kill and keep alive? O foolish, simple, and ignorant king, woe to you forever. He's dressing down Nimrod. Excuse me. 57, I thought you would teach your servants the upright way, but you have not done this. You have filled the whole earth with your sins, and the sins of your people who have followed your ways. Do you not know, or have you not heard, that this evil which you do, our ancestors sinned therein in days of old, and the eternal Elohim brought the waters of the flood on them, and destroyed them all, and also destroyed the whole earth on their account? And will you and your people rise up now, and do like this work, in order to bring down the anger of the Elohim of the universe, and to bring evil on you and the whole earth? Now therefore put away this evil deed which you did, and serve the Elohim of the universe, as your soul is in his hands, and then it will be well with you. And if your wicked heart will not listen to my words to cause you to turn away from your evil ways, and serve the eternal Elohim, then you will die in shame in the latter days, you your people, and all who are connected with you, hearing your words or walking in your evil ways." When Abram had ceased speaking before the king and princes, Abram lifted up his eyes to the heavens, and he said, "The Elohim sees all the wicked, and he will judge them." Chapter 12. When the king heard the words of Abram, he ordered him to be put into prison, and Abram was 10 days in prison. At the end of those days the king ordered that all the kings, princes, and governors of different provinces, and all the sages should come before him, and they sat before him, and Abram was still in the house of confinement. The king said to the princes and sages, "Have you heard what Abram, the son of Terah, has done to his father? Thus he has done to him, and I ordered him to be brought before me, and thus has he spoken. His heart did not misgive him, neither did he stir in my presence, and behold, now he is confined in the prison. Therefore decide what judgment is due to this man who reviled the king, who spoke and did all the things that you heard." And they all answered the king, saying, "The man who reviles the king should be hanged on a tree. But having done all these things that he said, and having despised our small g gods, he must therefore be burned to death, for this is the law in this matter. If it pleases the king to do this, let him order his servants to kindle a fire both night and day in your brick furnace, and then we will cast this man into it." And the king did so. And he commanded his servants that they should prepare a fire for 3 days and 3 nights in the king's furnace, that is, in Kasdim. And the king ordered them to take Abram from prison and bring him out to be burned. And all the king's servants, princes, lords, governors, and judges, and all the inhabitants of the land, about 900,000 men, stood opposite the furnace to see Abram. And all the women and little ones crowded on the roofs and towers to see what was going on with Abram. And they all stood together at a distance, and there was not a man left that did not come that day to behold the scene. When Abram was come, the conjurers of the king and the sages saw Abram, and they cried out to the king, saying, "Our sovereign lord, certainly this is the man whom we know to have been the child at whose birth this great star swallowed the 4 stars which we declared to the king 50 years ago. And behold, now his father has also gone contrary to your commands, and mocked you by bringing you another child, which you did kill." And when the king heard their words, he was greatly angered, and he ordered Terah to be brought before him. And the king said, "Have you heard what the conjurers have spoken? Now tell me truly, how did you? If you shall speak truth, you shall be acquitted." Seeing that the king's anger was so much set ablaze, Terah said to the king, "My lord and king, you have heard the truth, and what the sages have spoken is right." And the king said, "How could you do this thing, to go contrary to my orders, and to give me a child that you did not beget, and to take value for him?" Terah answered the king, "Because my tender feelings were excited for my son at that time, I took a son of my handmaid and brought him to the king." And the king said, "Who advised you to do this? Tell me, do not hide anything from me, and then you shall not die." And Terah was greatly terrified in the king's presence, and he said to the king, "It was Haran, my eldest son, who advised me to do this." Haran was in those days that Abram was born 32 years old. But Haran did not advise his father to do anything, for Terah said this to the king in order to deliver his soul from the king, for he feared greatly. The king said to Terah, "Haran, your son, who advised you to do this, shall die through fire with Abram, For the sentence of death is on him for having rebelled against the king's desire in doing this thing." Haran at the time felt inclined to follow the ways of Abram, but he kept it within himself. And Haran said in his heart, "Behold, now the king has seized Abram on account of these things which Abram did. And it shall come to pass, that if Abram prevail over the king, I will follow him. But if the king prevail, I will go after the king." When Terah had spoken this to the king concerning Haran his son, the king ordered Haran to be seized with Abram. And they brought them both, Abram and Haran his brother, to cast them into the fire. And all the inhabitants of the land, and the king's servants and princes, and all the women and little ones, were there standing over them that day. And the king's servants took Abram and his brother, and they stripped them of all their clothes, except their lower garments which were on them. And they bound their hands and feet with linen cords. And the servants of the king lifted them up, and cast them both into the furnace. The Elohim loved Abram, and he had compassion over him. And the Elohim came down and delivered Abram from the fire, and he was not burned. But all the cords with which they had bound him were burned, while Abram remained and walked about in the fire. Haran died when they had cast him into the fire, and he was burned to ashes, for his heart was not perfect with the Elohim. And those men who cast him into the fire, the flame of the fire spread over them, and they were burned, and 12 of them died. Abram walked in the midst of the fire 3 days and 3 nights, and all the servants of the king saw him walking in the fire. And they came and told the king, saying, "Behold, we have seen Abram walking about in the midst of the fire, and even the lower garments which are on him are not burned, but the cords with which he was bound is burned." When the king heard their words, his heart fainted, and he would not believe them. So he sent other faithful princes to see this matter, and they went and saw it, and told it to the king. And the king rose to go and see it, and he saw Abram walking to and fro in the midst of the fire, and he saw Haran's body burned, and the king wondered greatly. The king ordered Abram to be taken out of the fire, and his servants approached to take him out, and they could not, for the fire was round about, and the flame ascended toward them from the furnace. The king's servants fled from it, and the king rebuked them, saying, "Make haste and bring Abram out of the fire, that you shall not die." The servants of the king again approached to bring Abram out, and the flames came on them and burned their faces, so that 8 of them died. When the king saw that his servants could not approach the fire that would burn them, the king called to Abram, "O servant of Yahweh who is in heaven, go forth from amidst the fire and come here before me." And Abram listened to the voice of the king, and he went forth from the fire, and came and stood before the king. When Abram came out, the king and all his servants saw Abram coming before the king with his lower garments on him that were not burned, but the cord with which he was bound was burned. And the king said to Abram, "How is it that you were not burned in the fire?" Abram said to the king, "The Elohim of heaven and earth, in whom I trust, and who has all in his power, he delivered me from the fire into which you did cast me." Haran, the brother of Abram, was burned to ashes, and they sought for his body. They found it consumed. Haran was 82 years old when he died in the fire of Kasdim. And the king, princes, and inhabitants of the land, seeing that Abram was delivered from the fire, came and bowed down to Abram. And Abram said to them, "Do not bow down to me, but bow down to the Elohim of the world, who made you, and serve him, and go in his way, for it is he who delivered me from out of this fire. It is he who created the souls and spirits of all men, and formed man in his mother's womb, and brought him forth into the world. It is he who will deliver those who trust in him from all pain." This thing seemed very wonderful in the eyes of the king and princes, that Abram was saved from the fire, and that Haran was burned. And the king gave Abram many presents, and he gave him 2 head servants from the king's house. The name of one was Ani, and the other was Eliezer. All the kings, princes, and servants gave Abram many gifts of silver and gold and pearl, and the king and all his princes sent him away, and he went in peace. Abram went forth from the king in peace, and many of the king's servants followed him, and about 300 men joined him. And Abram returned on that day and went to his father's house, he and the men that followed him. And Abram served the Elohim, his Elohim, all the days of his life. He walked in his ways and followed his laws. From that day forward, Abram inclined the heart of the sons of men to serve the Elohim. At that time Nahor and Abram took to themselves wives, the daughters of their brother Haran. The wife of Nahor was Milcah, and the name of Abram's wife was Sarai. And Sarai, wife of Abram, was unable to conceive. She had no children in those days. At the expiration of 2 years from Abram's going out of the fire, that is, in the 52nd year of his life, behold, King Nimrod sat in Babel on the throne, and the king fell asleep and dreamed that he was standing with his troops and hosts in the valley opposite the king's furnace. And he lifted up his eyes and saw a man in the likeness of Abram coming forth from the furnace. He came and stood before the king with his drawn sword, and then sprang to the king with his sword. And when the king fled from the man, for he was afraid, while he was running, the man threw an egg on the king's head, and the egg became a great river. And the king dreamed that all his troops sank in that river and died. And the king took flight with 3 men who were before him, and he escaped. The king looked at these men, and they were clothed in princely dresses, as the garments of kings, and had the appearance and majesty of kings. And while they were running, the river again turned to an egg before the king. There came forth from the egg a young bird, which came before the king, and flew at his head, and plucked out the king's eye. The king was grieved at the sight, and he awoke out of his sleep, and his spirit was agitated. He felt great terror. In the morning the king rose from his couch in fear, and he ordered all the wise men and magicians to come before him. And when the king related his dream to them, and the wise servants of the king, whose name was Anakai, answered the king, saying, "There is nothing else but the evil of Abram and his offspring, which will spring up against my lord and king in the latter days. And behold, the day will come when Abram and his offspring and the children of his household will war with my king, and they will strike all the king's hosts and his troops. And as to what you have said concerning 3 men, which you did see like yourself, and which did escape, this means that only you will escape with 3 kings from the kings of the earth, who will be with you in battle. And that which you saw of the river, which turned to an egg as at first, and the young bird plucked out your eye, this means nothing else but the offspring of Abram, which will kill the king in latter days. This is my king's dream, and this is its interpretation. And the dream is true, and the interpretation which your servant has given you is right. Now therefore, my king, certainly you know that it is now 52 years since your sages saw this at the birth of Abram. And if my king will suffer Abram to live in the earth, it will be to the injury of my lord and king. For all the days that Abram lives, neither you nor your kingdom will be established. For this was known formerly at his birth. And why will not my king kill him, that his evil may be kept from you in your latter days?" And Nimrod listened to the voice of Anakai. He sent some of his servants in secret to go and seize Abram and bring him before the king to suffer death. Eliezer, Abram's servant, whom the king had given him, was at that time in the presence of the king, and he heard what Anakai had advised the king, and what the king had said to cause Abram's death. Eliezer said to Abram, "Hasten, rise up, and save your soul, that you may not die through the hands of the king, for thus did he see in a dream concerning you, and thus did Anakai interpret it, and thus also did Anakai advise the king concerning you." Abram listened to the voice of Eliezer, and Abram hurried and ran for safety to the house of Noah and his son Shem. And he concealed himself there and found a place of safety. And the king's servants came to Abram's house to seek him, but they could not find him. And they searched throughout the country, and he was not to be found. They went and searched in every direction, and he was not to be met with. And when the king's servants could not find Abram, they returned to the king. But the king's anger against Abram was stilled, and they did not find him. And the king drove from his mind this matter concerning Abram. Abram was concealed in Noah's house for 1 month, until the king had forgotten this matter. But Abram was still afraid of the king. And Terah came to see Abram his son secretly in the house of Noah. And Terah was very great in the eyes of the king. Abram said to his father, "Do you not know that the king thinks to kill me, and to annihilate my name from the earth by the advice of his wicked counselors? Now whom have you here, and what have you in this land? Arise, let us go together to the land of Canaan, that we may be delivered from his hand, that you not perish also through him in the latter days. Did you not know, or have you not heard, that it is not through love that Nimrod gives you all this honor, but it is only for his benefit that he bestows all this good on you? And if he does to you greater good than this, certainly these are only vanities of the world, for wealth and riches cannot avail in the day of wrath and anger. Now therefore listen to my voice, and let us arise and go to the land of Canaan, out of the reach of injury from Nimrod, and serve the Elohim who created you in the earth, and it will be well with you, and cast away all the vain things which you pursue." And Abram ceased to speak when Noah and his son Shem answered Terah, saying, "True is the word which Abram hath said to you." And Terah listened to the voice of his son Abram, and Terah did all that Abram said, for this was the Elohim that the king should not this was from the Elohim that the king should not cause Abram's death. And that is the end of chapter 12. Woo! That was a lot there, huh, gang? You sure do find out a lot about where Abram came from, and his father Terah, and Nahum, and all the family there. Jeez Louise, what a deal. And the 3 days in the fire. Kind of sounds like what was going on with Daniel, huh? Pretty interesting, huh? Getting a good use for them crayons. Finding out lots of stuff there. Lots of coloring in the picture that we got from the Bible. Well, gang, I hope you enjoyed that study. I know it was a little bit long tonight, but thanks for sticking with me. And I'm very, very grateful to everybody for sticking with the study. Thank you so very much. I hope that you're getting something out of it and you're enjoying it. All right, gang, that's all I got left for tonight. Y'all have a great start to your week. We'll see you on Wednesday for our midweek Bible study. And I guess that's it. Shalom.